Not been looking forward to this
Yeah.
one. This group's rubbish. We don't need to spend much time on this. We got the
Well,
worst
the best
Belgian
talking
team
point, I
since 2014. Since 2012. You got, okay, a solid Egypt team, but it's still Egypt, and Salah's past his prime, really. Um, Iran,
Iran claim they won't be there.
I think they will be. I think they will
I
be.
think so too, but we can't assume that. I mean, they've said they won't be there, but there's been no plans to replace them yet.
No, I would be
I
very
think sadly,
surprised.
I think unfortunately the biggest indictment of this group is that the most interesting thing about this group is seeing whether Iran will play or not, more
Yeah.
than I think the results within this group, which I think is harsh, but quite a strong indictment
It's
of the group.
it's easily the weakest group at the tournament.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
apart from the co-hosts, it's the worst pot one team for me. I don't rate Belgium that highly at all.
Yeah.
We played
And
them
New Zealand are
twice.
the lowest ranked. Yeah, yeah. And New
Yeah,
Zealand are the lowest ranked team in the tournament.
I don't think New Zealand are the weakest team at the tournament, but they're not.
They're not the weakest, but they
But
are
yeah,
the lowest ranked.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not the same level of Iran team of the last two World Cups where they were very
no.
competitive. I think if Iran were in a tougher group, they would be nailed on to finish bottom. Um, Iran New Zealand is that classic meme of like staying up at 3 a.m. to watch Iran New Zealand on BBC One on a Tuesday night. That World Cup meme.
Yeah.
Um, I think Belgium are interesting because they have a lot of really good young players, which I think is kind of going
Mhm.
under the radar because they don't have that Hazard, De Bruyne type talent from what we can see
Yeah,
right
I
now.
think that unfortunately overshadows any future youth talent just
But
because of
yeah,
the level of players they had so recently that they did nothing with.
I really like Senna Lamens, the Manchester United goalkeeper. I think he's a real talent. I think Courtois will start, but Lamens
Yeah.
as an understudy is great. Um,
Provided he gets back and is fully fit again in time, but I think he will be.
yes. I really like, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I really like Jeremy Doku because for a long time I thought he was a headless chicken, but the more I watch him, the more I think, you know what, he's actually really good. I'm watching him in the flesh.
He
When
reminds me a lot of Sterling, where he's got a
yes,
lot of talent, just not that kind of final ball.
and but you say that, and when I watched Wales against Belgium in Cardiff, they beat us 4-2, and we'd led in that game actually. What really struck me was seeing Doku in person is that when he's on it, he can hurt you in like three
Hmm.
seconds from when he's got the
Hmm.
ball, and it is frightening. When he's on it, he is frightening. And you've got Kevin De Bruyne, will definitely be his last World Cup. Um,
Almost definitely.
so it's another legend you get to see De Bruyne and Salah, two of the best players in the history of the Premier
Yeah,
League, playing in that first game. That's a cool narrative.
it is
Um,
cool, but unfortunately, I think we're going to see some has-beens there. I think that's the
it'd be like a
saddest
charity
part that
match.
it. Yeah. Oh, I hate to say it, but kind of.
Um, yeah, not a very interesting group. I'm even struggling to find. I think for me, the game to watch here is Egypt Iran because I imagine they'll both beat New Zealand and they'll both lose to Belgium. And then that game is going to be that Middle East absolute
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
heated bloodbath. And that'll be a good game to watch. Other than that, you can probably just watch the highlights of this group. And again, I would probably go in this order.
I would do exactly the same.
I think there's a chance that Iran go one of two ways and they either implode or, like we kind of saw at the last World Cup, where they played above their level with the stuff going on at home, kind of, because they did get hammered by England, but then they beat Wales and they really pushed the USA close, which was a better USA team than the current one, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
much better.
so, yeah, we're going to get past Group G. It's not, yeah. This one isn't great either.
Mhm.
What did you think of Uruguay? Because I didn't see that game. Uruguay are in a really interesting position because
Yeah,
there's not much hope, and a lot of their fans hate Bielsa.
yeah. I think you're right. It is. It's an odd one. I think the England game recently was. more about a typical England performance more than anything else. I mean, Valverde's is exceptional and
Yeah.
proved it there again. I did the main takeaway was all the media attention around Ben White more than anything else, being the one to score and give away the penalty. But I think Uruguay are a strong side. I don't think anyone really expects much of them, which is strange because they're a decent side. But just kind of going unnoticed. There's not really much hype around them. I don't think anyone's expecting that much of them. I would certainly expect them to get out of this group.
Yeah.
And I think the advantage of playing one of the top sides in I think this is a great group for Uruguay because they should very easily get out of the group in second place, and they can use Spain as a warm up of playing the better nations. I think so often we see a team not really hit the ground running in the group stage because they face easy opponents and then they can't turn it on when it matters more in a knockout match. I think this is a very beneficial group for Uruguay. I think Spain, in some ways, look. I've got them as one of my two favorites to win the tournament. I think they all will almost potentially hope to have had slightly less easy opponents in this group, so again they can really get warmed up. But
I think
I
what I
think
would
there's not
say
much
to
more to
that
say.
is that De La Fuente really does like to rotate, and obviously he has his favorites. But within his once he's picked his squad, I think he will enjoy having that comfort to say make five
Yeah,
changes
yeah.
between Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia. What Spain are a really weird one for me because I have them as my second favorites at the moment. Because what's interesting is I think the three favorites we've not touched on any of them yet. Um, in fact, the four
Not
favorites
much. Yeah.
they're all in these last five groups. Um,
Mhm.
I think Lamine Yamal could win this tournament on his own, and that sounds hyperbolic. He's one of two players, and I think Kylian Mbappe is the other one, who could win this World Cup on their own. And that sounds insane because it's a team sport. But international football, your individual stars matter so much. And we saw that last World Cup.
Yeah.
Messi and Mbappe,
Yeah.
some of the best World Cup tournament performances we've ever seen. Like
I
incredible.
have to admit, I didn't really get that sense from Messi in the same way.
Ah,
I
no
think that
way,
the
man.
team was
No
had to be
way.
set up around him so that he could walk around. Now, yes, he had outstanding performances, but I don't think he could have done that without the team being set up for him. And
I remember vividly the Saudi Arabia game was a bit rough, but that Mexico
yeah,
game,
oh yeah, yeah.
the Mexico game, the goal he scored, that was just sheer genius. And so un-Messi like to drive it low from that position. It was like a Ronaldo-esque goal. Um, we're going off topic now, but and I just remember especially the Australia and Croatia games. Um, just at half time, the BBC showed like, or ITV, whoever was showing it, just showed like a reel of like 6 or 7 times that he just picked up the ball from Otamendi and just ran past like 8 players like he was still 21. And it was like he was possessed. It was incredible. It was incredible.
Well, he knew that it was now or never. I think it
I
was
suppose.
absolutely
And I
the
think,
last chance.
I will give you that, okay, single handedly, it's definitely a bit much because Emi Martinez, they owe
Yeah,
just as much of that
yeah.
triumph to Emi Martinez. Um,
Hmm.
and Julian Alvarez had a great tournament as well. But Messi
Yeah.
was unbelievable and was basically in his prime for 7 games in that tournament, which was great to see. Um, but my point being is Yamal is capable of that, and
Yeah.
he was brilliant at the last Euros, but I think he's
Yeah.
capable of
For a
even more.
16, 17 year
Yeah,
old. Yeah.
that goal
Yeah.
against France at 16
Yeah.
in a
Yeah. Yeah.
Euro
Yeah. It was just
semi-final.
before his 17th birthday. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
madness. Yeah. To embarrass Rabiot like that. on the world stage at
I
16
watched
years old.
I watched it live in the pub, and I can't remember being more gobsmacked at a goal in my life. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it you know what I love about it as well is if Rodri isn't back in form, which I think was a big concern.
hmm That is my biggest concern for Spain.
I'll tell you what,
Absolutely.
I'm not bothered. Martin Zubamendi is so good. He is incredible. I'm not bothered. If
He is.
Rodri
He
doesn't play a
is.
minute at the tournament, they can still win easily. And
They can, but Rodri was before his injury was the best player in the world. And
of
and
course,
and
but
it's so rare that we give a holding midfielder that title. I think it's
mm,
harder for a defensive player to be given the respect they deserve. So that, I think that just really speaks volumes. But you're
I
right,
think
they don't need him
mm, I think
anymore.
I think Yamal is now. I think at the last tournament, Rodri was their most important player. I think now it's Yamal, and I would actually say second place is Pedri. So that's one of my two concerns.
Definitely. I would
I
completely agree with
if
that.
I'm going to back Spain to win, I need Pedri to have been fit for a couple of months before the tournament starts. I think at the moment he's still
Mm,
injured. Um,
yeah.
it's just such a shame because last season, after so many injury hit seasons, he was basically fit the whole season, apart from a couple knocks. He has played the last couple games. He played a couple 45 minutes for Spain. Um, I need Pedri fit, and I need to see something from this defense. Um, it's looking like it's going to be Kubarsi, who I do really like, but is very young.
Yeah.
Um, and then who partners him? I would very much be surprised if it's Kubarsi and Dean Howson because they're both very young, even though they both play
Mm,
for Real Madrid and Barcelona. Yeah, and then Cucurella I like at left back, but then you're looking at Pedro Porro at right back, who I do like, but is very attacking. Of course, Danny Carvajal is a big loss,
yeah.
and De La Fuente loves Unai Simon, who I think is a good goalkeeper. And I think
But not outstanding.
at the last Euros, it was the right call to keep him as number one because of the continuity.
Mm,
I think by now, David Raya should have been transitioned into being the goalkeeper.
yeah.
Even if you don't want to
Absolutely.
say David Raya, I think Joan Garcia at Barcelona is better than Unai Simon. Um,
Mm.
and I think sometimes you
But
have to
David
say,
Raya, I think, is definitely the best option.
oh, of course, but I think Joan Garcia is also a top 10 keeper in the world. And Unai Simon, would you say
Well, that is
based
the
on this
embarrassment
season that
of
he's,
riches they have.
would you say Unai Simon's a top 25 keeper on the world based on this season? Probably not. Um, you got to go on form sometimes at these tournaments, and that's what I'm worried about. Is that De La Fuente is known for picking his favourites, and it really paid off at the last tournament. Danny Olmo was brilliant, Fabian Ruiz was brilliant, and I think a lot of us, people talking about football, wouldn't have picked them in the starting 11, and they were two of the best players in the entire tournament, Olmo and Fabian Ruiz. So I like Spain a lot. I worry about the defence. That's my main thing.
I just think with Spain, though, what's unique to them is that their system is even greater than the sum of their parts, and
That's true.
in spite of the fact that they have outstanding players, they are the only team that truly utilizes a coherent system and sticks to it, and that's what won them the Euros because they weren't based on their squad. I don't think they were that many people's number one favorite to win, and they did
No.
it.
Mm.
They did it. I mean, partly helped by an outstanding teenager, but I think that's slightly over because, of course, it's a fantastic story. I think they could have won it without Lamine Yamal, with another winger, because it was their system that won it first and
Yeah,
foremost.
I would argue that both Carvajal and Rodri were more important players for the team.
Definitely,
And
they're less.
Yamal's,
It's a less exciting discussion
yeah,
because of how unique Yamal is at such a young age. But I completely agree with you on that.
yeah. I'm interested to see it. I'm interested to see it how they play and if they can live up to that Euros because, like you say, pre-tournament, I think people thought France were better, people thought England were better, people thought
Definitely,
the
yeah,
Germans were better on home soil, and really Germany were the
yeah.
team that gave them the best game that quarter final. Um, maybe you'd have Spain fourth, but then Portugal were in really good form as well, and a lot of people were
hmm
fancying them. So, But this is a gift of a group. Of all the pot two teams, I know you've talked about Uruguay being tough, and they are, and Valverde's maybe the best midfielder in the world at the moment. Um, Uruguay are not going to do anything with Spain. I just don't think it's going to happen. I really think they're going to struggle in a knockout game against a European team. I just, I think Ecuador are better than them and Paraguay are better than them in terms of South American teams at the moment because you're relying on Darwin Nunez to get you goals and you can't even do it in the Saudi league. So,
Yeah,
speaking of, we got Saudi Arabia. Um, I think it should be a more exciting team than it is my take on Saudi Arabia because of the growth of the league. They do have some good players. They were very exciting at the last World Cup, even though they went out in the group stage.
yeah, yeah.
Al Dosari, who scored that famous curling goal, he's a brilliant winger, still playing for Al Hilal. I just, I think that their chance has been and gone. Really, it's an old team now. I'm way more excited about Cape Verde, who are making their debut, and for that reason, my game to watch is Spain Cape Verde, that opening game. I think that's going to be a great vibe. It could Spain could score five or six, but Cape Verde are going to play their hearts out. And yeah, that's great. We need a bit of that. And this is going to be a bit of a bold prediction for me. I'm going to go Spain 1, Uruguay 2, Cape Verde 3, and Saudi Arabia 4.
Really?
I'm
I
doing
mean,
it.
look, this is the thing that it's so rare in the World Cup that the outcome that makes the most sense is what actually happens.
Mm.
Um, but I think the logical order is Spain, Uruguay, Cape Verde, then Saudi Arabia, then Cape Verde. But I don't hate your order. I don't hate
Mm.
it. I think that's what the
Right.
World Cup's all about.